Namaste. I am Jyoti Chidillapalli from International Institute of Vedic Sciences, Rishi Vatika. I welcome you all the enthusiasts of Vedic sciences and Sanatana Dharma who have joined us live on Rishi Vatika YouTube channel today. Let us start this session with a short prayer. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam, Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam, Vatatmajam Vanarayodha Mukhyam, Sri Ramadutam, Sirasa Namami. Here we have with us today Dr. R. Suresh, the speaker of the day. Namaskaram Suresh. Welcome to the IIVS lecture series. Today, Dr. Suresh will be giving a talk on learning techniques illustrated in Vedas. The lecture will discuss about the techniques illustrated in the Vedas. This is the 89th talk in Dr. Vedavyas Memorial Online Lecture Series being conducted by International Institute of Vedic Sciences, promoted by Vedavyasa Bharati Trust, USCFI, and Yoga Brotherhood of America with the blessings of Puja Guruji Dr. Vedavyas. Thanks to IIVS for giving me this opportunity to introduce Dr. R. Suresh today. Dr. R. Suresh has undergone 6 years of rigorous traditional Gurukula education of Krishna Yajur Veda, Vedanta, with Shankaracharya Commentary, grammar, Indian logics, literature, and yoga. He has done M.A. and Ph.D. in Sanskrit, M.Sc in yoga and consciousness. Currently, he is a faculty of Department of Studies in Sanskrit at University of Mysore. Dr. Suresha ji has more than 16 years of teaching experience. He has published about 21 research articles and has presented about 43 papers in national and international seminars and conferences. Dr. Suresha ji received Venkatanarayana Sastry Memorial Award from S-VYASA University, Bengaluru. He has been conducting sessions on spoken Sanskrit, yogasana, pranayama, meditation techniques, Vedic chanting in various camps, coordinator of Grama Samskara Yojana, Village Development Program. He has coordinated and volunteered in many social activities. Okay, during this lecture today, if you have any questions or comments for Dr. Suresh, please post them in the comment section to discuss at the end of the session. Now I request Dr. Suresh to deliver his talk. Sir, over to you.
Namaste and thank you. Let me begin with a small Vedic prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Vedamanuchyacharyon Devasina Manushasti Satyam Vada Dharmanchara Swadhyayan Ma Pramadaha Achadyaya Priyandhanamahritya Prajatantum Ma Vyavachetsi Satyanna Pramaditavyam Dharmanna Pramaditavyam Kushalanna Pramaditavyam Bhutyaina Pramaditavyam Swadhyaya Pravachanabhyanna Pramaditavyam Deva Pitrakaryabhyanna Pramaditavyam Matradevo Bhava Pitradevo Bhava Acharyadevo Bhava Atithidevo Bhava Yanyanavadyani Karmani Tani Sevitavyani Noitarani Yanyasmakam Sucharitani Tani Tvayopasyani Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. At the outset, I would offer my pranams to all the dignitaries and coordinators of Vedavyasa Bharati Trust and It is my privilege to present a talk on learning techniques as illustrated in the Vedas. At the outset, I would like to give a brief note on the Vedic viewpoint of education. Veda gives a broad outline of how to approach the whole human consciousness. So the first important quote that needs to be answered or addressed is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma from Taittiriya Upanishad. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So the consciousness is the core of the entire philosophy of Indianness. So there is a beautiful story which wherein Bhrugurvaiva Runihi Varunam Pitaramupasasara Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. A disciple or the son Bhruguhu approaches the father. Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. Give me the knowledge of Brahman. Tapasa Brahma Vijijnasasva Tapo Brahmeti. So he sends the son to find the knowledge by himself. So that is a initial state, and he comes back with a brief understanding of human consciousness and says, first, in the first level, Sharira, that is Sharira Annamaya Koshaha, and in the second level, he realizes the Pranamaya Koshaha, the vital personality, and at the third level, he goes with Manomaya Koshaha. At the fourth level, he understands Vijnanamaya Koshaha, intellectual personality, and at the end, he realizes Anandamaya Koshaha, the spiritual personality. So these 5 layers of one's own existence is to be understood so that we can delve into the topic of education. So let us understand what the word Shiksha refers to. Shikshiti Vidya Upadane Shiksha Shabda Susiddhyati Yaya Vidya Athava Jnanam Saiva Shiksheti Kathyate. Shiksha is Vidya Upadane Shiksha Shabda Susiddhyati. So the whole focus of education from Indian point of view lies as the student being the core of the entire education system. Athati Vidyam Acharyah Purva Rupam Antevasyuttara Rupam Vidya Sandhi Pravachanagum Sandhanam Ityadhi Vidyam. In Taittiriya Upanishad again, we come across this wonderful mantra. Acharyah Purva Rupam Antevasi Uttara Rupam Vidya Sandhi. In Shanti Patha also, Antevasi here refers to the student, Acharya is a teacher. In Shanti Patha as well, Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. So even in Shanti Mantra, the teacher and the taught, the Acharya and Antevasi, both are equal participants in the journey of knowledge exploration. So that is the reason Indian thought process, Indian philosophers, they realized that Atma is the core of all the philosophy. That is one important quote that is worth mentioning. Krinvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha Vayam Agner Manushaha Purusho Vavasukritam Va Abravit Yathayatanam Pravishata Iti Nahi Jnanena Sadrasham Pavitramiha Vidyate Bhagavad Gita. So all these references, Krinvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha. So though human beings are by default are extrovert, as it is beautifully narrated in Kathopanishad. Paranchi khani vyatranat swayam bhu tasmat parang pashyati na antaratman kaschid dhira pratyagatmanam ikshat avrta chakshuramritapamishchan. So by default, we tend to see outwards, though the inner quality, that is the Atman, is the core of our whole existence. So this being the outline of our understanding, let us go to the next part of it. Acharya padamadatte padam shishya swamedhaya padam sabrahmacharibhya padam kalakravena. If the whole learning is to be considered as 100%, then 25% of the knowledge we gain through teachers, and the next quarter is gained by oneself, the student himself, and the third quarter of knowledge is received through the colleagues or the friends, peer group, and padam kalakramenacha, since the learning starts from the womb and ends or continues till the tomb. So it's a lifelong learning process. So one acquires knowledge by experience. Here we understand these 5 dimensions based on the fundamentals of education. We divide, or we can realize there are 4 different stages of Vidya. The first stage of Vidya is called Adhishila Shikshanam, which is where the prominence will be on Shraddha Balam. The faith or Shraddha is the primary quality or virtue based on which one can, that is, the child learns more by depending completely on mother or father, the people who are very closely associated with him or her. So here the trust plays major role. This is generally for 6 to 8 years. Up to 0, from 0 to 6 to 8 years, the child acquires knowledge from Shraddha Balam. Whatever the mother says, whatever the father or the close circle says, the child believes without any further questioning. At the second stage, Adhichitta Shiksha, wherein Medhabalam becomes more prominent, the power of retention. That is the reason in olden days, in Gurukula education system, at the age of 8, the child was supposed to given a rigorous training for Medha Vikasa, that is power of retention. It can absorb any number of information into oneself. So from, if we consider 6 years or 8 years as a benchmark, then the first 8 years of Shraddha Balam, and second 8 years or 6 years for Medha Balam. And the third part is Adhiprajna Shiksha, where Prajna Balam, the analysis, whether the information is right or wrong, if it is right, what could be the reason. So this kind of questioning comes up in the third stage, almost from 12 to 18 years. And at the fourth stage, it is called Pratibhastaram or Adhipratibha Shiksha, wherein Pratibha Balam, creativity and innovation, doing things differently and making a positive contribution out of our own imagination, this skill will be very much observable, very much dominant. So based on the age factor, Earlier in Gurukulas, these 4 stages of education were imparted. So here I am trying to give you a brief idea or basic distinction between Vedic Gurukulam and schooling of these days. So in ancient days, there was a Gurukula system in place for quite a long time, irrespective of our onslaughts for over hundreds of years, more than 1,000 years. The Gurukula, because of the Gurukula system, Indian culture was prevailed and preserved. And today we have schooling education. Let us try to find differences and commonalities between these two. Both of them address the ward, that is the child, in a different way, totally different way. Before going to the subject, I would like to bring one small shloka of Kalidasa. Puranamityeva nasadhu sarvam nachapi kavyam navamityavadyam santah parikshya anyatarad bhajante mudha parapratyaya niyabuddhi. Just because we have the Vedic Gurukula system in place for thousands of years, it need not be free of faults. And on the other side, schooling system is being implemented in India for about 100 years or so. And we need not to find only fault into that. So here there is a fair comparison being made, and let us see how both these systems are inherently different and what could be the future. So in Vedic Gurukula system aims at molding integral personality which covers physical, emotional, intellectual and spiritual facets. In schooling aims intellectual development only, all the other facets are ignored. Here we give more, in today's schooling, we give more importance to marks and the other related schooling activities. Emotional aspects and the spiritual aspects are miserably missing. So on the side of Vedic Gurukula system, we see character building and transformation oriented curriculum and character are of equal importance. Cooperative learning brings out best in individual for a social good too. Competition with oneself. So these are some of the important qualities of Vedic Gurukula system. On the other side, we have information oriented education today, focused more on career building, and curriculum is given a top priority. Competitive learning, it brings best in product and worst in the result. And competition with others, individual is hardly paid any attention while teaching the masses. So here, non-residential system is the order of the day. And as we go ahead, I'm since the time is very short, I'm giving only important things, discussing only important things. In Vedic Gurukula education system, irrespective of one's background, caste, creed, or something, based on one's aptitude and one's ability to acquire the knowledge, the education was given, and student was continuously encouraged, evaluated to become a lifelong autonomous learners. So in Vedic Gurukula education system, learning or learner was at the center of the entire education, whereas in today's education system, teacher is the important, and he or she gives some instruction to the students. And here we come across with one important point that is called pedagogy. Pedagogy is the method to teach, instruction method, project method. So in modern education, we have more focus on teachers, how best he or she can reach to the student. So in earlier days, student was given high priority, and teacher or teachers used to make efforts to understand the student, and based on his or her interest, he was given education. So that is one important factor. This will lead to our um, learning techniques. So that is the reason I am highlighting that fact, that point. And here, individual aptitude is emphasized. And in today's schooling education, we want a student to come out as a job seeker. So that is the fact of the day. Based on Indian thought, which is exclusively available in Upanishads, Sri Aurobindo Maharishi has given three important key points, a direction towards holistic education. He called it as integral, holistic, comprehensive education. The first and foremost principle of education, according to him, is nothing can be taught, but everything can be learned. Unless and until the student is given priority, unless and until there is a complete change to find out the nuances of individual learning, we will not be able to make any important progress in terms of education. So the first and foremost principle, according to him, was nothing can be taught, but everything can be learned. The second is mind has to be consulted in its growth. So based on the requirement of the student, there needs to be a guiding or a facilitation should be done. In his entire work, he never addresses teacher. Rather, he says teacher must be a facilitator. He must help the student to understand. He is just a guide by the side. He is not a sage on the stage. Rather, he is a guide by the side. He must help the student to understand the things better. So, and the last principle, according to him, was understand from near to far. So the closer it is, the better the education. Interesting, the interest, curiosity can be developed in the mind of the child. So these three were the guiding principles. And based on these three guiding principles, some learning methodologies were developed in Veda Vijnana Gurukulam under the guidance of Puja Ramachandra Bhatt Kotemaniji. So, as we have teaching methodologies, let us understand how the learning methodologies could be. For example, when a learner is given highest priority, or when he is in the center of the entire learning system, what are the possible ways, according to him, to explore the world of knowledge? So, about 51 such learning methodologies were chalked out from Vedic, Vedantic, and other Sanskrit related sources. As far as Veda is concerned, we know that Veda is transcended from generations to generation through Shravana Madhyama. That is why it is called, that is the reason it is called Shruti Parampara. So there is a unbroken lineage of thousands of years wherein not even a single swara is deviated from its original. So this is one important area, Veda Adhigama Vidhi. Vidhi is a method, Veda Adhigamaha, the methods of learning the Vedas, the first part. And second part is Pramanas. There are different Pramanas being accepted, Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, those things are included in the second part. In the third part, Shastra Adhigama Vidhis, and in the fourth part, Vyavahara Vidhis. So let's try to understand each and every segment. First one is Veda Adhigama Vidhi. Before going to the details, in today's scenario, we have very few Veda Shakhas prevailing in India and outside. According to Patanjali, there were 1131 Veda Shakhas. Today, we hardly have about 10 Veda Shakhas. In order to preserve and teach the Vedas, to learn the Vedas, there were mainly two important categories. One is Prakriti Patha, the other one is Vikriti Patha. In Prakriti Patha, the order of the Vedic mantras will not be changed. That is why it's called Prakriti Patha. Samhita Patha, Pada Patha, and Krama Patha. In Samhita Patha, say for example, Agnimile Purohitam Yajnasya Devam Mritvijam. So Agnim Ile Purohitam Yajnasya Devam Mritvijam. So each and every word, if they are divided, it is called Pada Patha. And Krama Patha is also a series, Agnim Ile Purohitam. So two words are combined, and 1 plus 2. After this, we'll go to the second segment, 2 plus 3, 3 plus 4, 4 plus 5. So this is the Krama Patha. And in Vikriti Patha, Vikriti is the order of the word is being changed. There are 8 Vikritis: Jatha, Mala, Shikha, Rekha, Dhvajo, Dando, Ratho, Ghanaha. In Mala Patha, we have Kramamala and Pushpamala. In Ratha Patha, we have Vichakro Ratha and Trichakro Ratha. In Ghana Patha, we have Prathama Ghanaha, Dvitiya Ghanaha, Prathama Ghana Vallabhaha, Dvitiya Ghana Vallabhaha. These are 8 important Veda Vikriti Pathaha through which the order of the mantra was retained intact without any dilution. Next, we go to the Pramanas. In fact, Pramanas are detailed. In Shastras. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, Arthapatti, and Anupalabdhi. Indriyartha Sannikarashotpannam Jnanam Pratyaksham. So here Pratyaksha is to our senses. Some information, some knowledge is available. So that is called Pratyaksha. Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, Arthapatti are being considered, 6 Pramanas being considered in Vedanta. So these 6 are called Pramanas, epistemology, which can be included as learning methodologies, because these are the tools through which a person acquires the knowledge, gets the knowledge. So these 6 can be considered as learning methodologies. The third category is Shastra Adhigama Vidhi, methods of learning the Shastras. Here it is quite interesting. Adhikarana Vidhi, Upakramopasamharo, Abhyasa Purvata Aphalam, Arthavadopapatti cha Lingam Tatparya Nirnaya Vidhi. So Adhyaropa Apavada Vidhi, Bhashya Vidhi. Bhashya Vidhi, here for every technical term, there is a proper definition. Say, for example, in Bhashyam, we have a number of commentaries. So while describing a particular aphorism, sutra, the Bhashyakara tries to give maximum explanation, elaboration, and he tries to be more simple when it comes to the new words which he coined in his work. And Drishtanta Vidhi, Drishtanta is a example. Through examples, one can understand. Kavya Vidhi, Kavyam, in olden days, Kavya is one of the methods of learning way of life. So Kavya Shastram and Katha Vidhi, through narration of the stories. Kosha Vidhi, a reference method. So taking a topic, one can refer different koshas and get more information about the koshas. And Manana Vidhi, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, these three are considered to be very important tool for Adhyatmika Sadhaka. So Shravanam is gaining information. Mananam is Yuktibhis Chintanam Mananam. Applying the logical mind and seeing that whether the information is true or not. And Nididhyasanam is total contemplation on same. So these three can be included in Shastra Dhigama Vidhi. And Parampara Vidhi. Parampara Vidhi is very much intact even today as far as Vedic learning is concerned. So just now I briefed about Parampara Vidhi. And Prashna Vidhi. We have a complete Upanishad on Prashna. Prashnopanishad. Isha Kena Katha Prashna Munda Mandukya Tittari Aitarencha Chandogyam Brihadaranyakamevacha. So out of Dasha Upanishads, one exclusive Upanishad dwells on Prashna. So questioning is highly appreciated. In some cases, people accuse that in ancient Indian traditional Gurukula method, questioning is hardly encouraged. That is totally false. Questioning is highly appreciated. And Shravana Vidhi, we discussed about it. Sutra Vidhi. Sutra Vidhi is Alpaksharam Asandigdham Saravad Vishwato Mukham Astobham Anavadyancha Sutram Sutra Viduhu. Sutrartho Varnyate Yatra Padaihi Sutranusaribhi Swapadani Cha Varnyante Bhashyam Bhashyavido Viduhu. So Sutra is aphorism. The best model of Sutra is Panini Ashtadhyaya. Though there are many sutras like Yoga Sutras and Mimamsa Sutras, Nyaya Sutras, Panini Ashtadhyayi stands an ideal form of sutras. So in short, one can communicate, one can understand many things which are not described in detail. Next one, Swadhyaya Vidhi. Swadhyayodhyetavyaha. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. So one must have an intention towards learning, a will to learn. So this is Swadhyaya. Irrespective of one's background, ancient Indian Gurukula system emphasizes more on Swadhyaya. And Tatparya Vidhi, how to understand the essence of a particular passage or particular lesson. So there are different methods. Upakrama Upasamharo, earlier I made a mention about it. Upakrama and Upasamhara. Abhyasaha Apurvata Phalam. Arthavadaha upapatti cha lingam tatparya nirnaye. So here we have a tatparya vidhi, and the next one is vada vidhi. Vade vade jayate tattvabodha. Vada is a discussion, a dialogue. It is not a quarrel. In Kannada, the word vada is used in a different context. In Sanskrit, vadaha is tattvabubhutsoho kathavada. In order to understand some higher principle, if two or more people are engaged, then it is called vada. And vartika vidhi. Uktanukta duruktanam chinta yatra pravartate tam grantham vartikam prahu vartikagnaha vichakshana. In a particular sutra, if some contents are apparently missing, uktasya spashtikaranam. The contents are narrated, but it is not defined in an understandable way. In that case, Vartikakara comes into picture. So, uktasya spashtikaranam, anuktasya puranam. If by mistake some important information is missing, then Vartikakara fulfills that void, that gap. Duruktasya parishkara. If the particular shloka or a particular sutra is giving a wrong notion, then Vartikakara tries to correct it. So these three are the major responsibilities of Vartikakara. So through the Vartikas, we understand the sutras better. So Vartika is a learning tool in order to understand the sutra in its real meaning. And Vyakhyanam. There are hundreds of Vyakhyas for important text called Bhagavad Gita and other treatises. So through Vyakhyanam, one can make a easy understanding of the content. And Vyutpatti Vidhi. So Vyutpatti Siddhyartham, in order to gain basic mastery over a language, one must use the language. There is a beautiful line in English. Language doesn't exist, it happens. So, bhashayah prayogena, varam varam muhurmuhu prayogena, bhasha siddhihi jayate. Ataha, bhasha vishaye prayogaha atyantam anivaryah. Ataha eva atra punarekam amsham kathayitum ichchami. I would like to bring one important point in relation to the language. There are different pockets of Indian learners. For example, the Vedic knowledge is to be understood with the help of the Shastras. Unfortunately, there are some people who learn the Vedas but hardly make any efforts to learn the Shastras or make efforts to gain mastery over different languages. So, Bhasha Adhyetaraha Santi, Shastra Adhyetaraha Santi, Veda Adhyetaraha Santi, Angla Bhasha Adhyetaraha Santi. Samskrita Adhyetaraha Angla Bhashamapi Adhigacheyuhu. Those who know the language, that is Angla Bhasha, English or Sanskrit, they must make efforts to learn, at least master one Shastra. And in today's scenario, where research into Vedic school is extensive, but the Veda Shakha Adhyanam, learning the Vedic mantras, Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad, all the four comes into one Veda Shakha. Taittiriya Samhita, Taittiriya Brahmanam, Taittiriya Aranyakam, and Taittiriya Upanishad. So one must make efforts to learn the Vedas as well. Research and learning the Veda should go hand in hand. Otherwise, we will miss out the essence of Vedic learning. So research in today's scenario, the emphasis should be on learning Sanskrit and English simultaneously, learning Veda along with computers, and learning Shastras. All these must be our priority. Losing one will not make our effort complete. So in this context, I would urge the entire audience or the listeners over here to make efforts to learn Veda Shakha and Shastra, and try to gain mastery over English and Sanskrit minimum, apart from vernacular or mother language. And the next part is Vyavahara Vidhi, learning in real life situations. Vyavahara Vidhi is, for example, Abhyasa Vidhi has already been explained in the previous. Anukarana Vidhi, the child learns by imitation. It tries to do what his parents or nearby people are doing. So Anukaranam is a method of learning. It is an exploration of the self. Avalokana Vidhi, observation method. So by observing many things, we learn without our knowledge. Sometimes the child learns by observing the others, how they behave, how they talk, how the parents are respecting each other. So many things are being learned by the child by Avalokana Vidhi. It not only confines to the child, rather it applies to each and every one at different stages. Krida Vidhi. So playing is one of the important method of learning for children especially. And Prakritika Vidhi. In nature, if we are in the nature, we learn many things. So it is a natural method to explore oneself. Self-exploration is utmost priority in learning methodology. And Prachara Vidhi. Adhiti, Bodhaha, Acharanam, Prachara. There are 4 stages. Adhitihi is to learn. Bodhaha is to gain knowledge. Acharanam is to implement the things in one's own life. And at the 4th stage, Pracharaha is to expand our knowledge, share our knowledge, bring awareness about a particular knowledge system among other people. And Pravasa Vidhi. Traveling is one of the important tools of self-exploration. One can understand others. Sheelam samvasata gneyam tacha kalena bhuyasa. So, because of our socialization, we learn many things either directly or indirectly. And Prayoga Vidhi is one of the beautiful vidhis narrated in Chandogya Upanishad. There are Shvetaketu is the child, and he is being given different methods of prayoga. So in Chandogya Shashtadhyaya, the complete narration is given. And Sahavasa Vidhi, when we are in association with a particular person for quite a long time or for a short period of time, we get associated, and we get impressed or we will impress him. There is a mutual sharing of knowledge. Samvada Vidhi. Samvadaha is to share the knowledge. Again, Samvada is the important part of learning. It is not only the communication. In communication, the important thing is to listen. Similarly, in Samvada Vidhi, listening to others and making a positive impact on the listener, these two are quite essential. Seva Vidhi, Seva Dharmaha Paramagahanaha Yoginam Agamyaha, Yoginam Api Agamyaha, Guru Shushrushaya Vidya, Pushkalena Dhanenava, Athava Vidyaya Vidya, Chaturthi Nopalabhyate. So these are some of the important references with regard to Seva Vidhi. Service without expecting anything in return. So even while serving, a person explores oneself. All these methods are here being viewed as a learning tool, a self-exploration. Here we have to remember an important statement made by Swami Vivekananda. He says, education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. Every child, every human being has more knowledge than what he is seeking outside. So we are after the information, but the real consciousness has got full amount of knowledge. So the self-exploration as these are the methods to self-exploration. Tapovidhi. Bhrugu, in Bhruguvalli, we have got a beautiful definition of Tapovidhi. He contemplates, Bhrugu contemplates and comes out with Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Kosha. And Upadesha Vidhi. Upadesha is to initiate a person with a particular mantra or to chant a particular mantra by taking the initiation from Guru. And Vinimaya Vidhi. Vinimaya Vidhi is knowledge sharing, sharing the experiences. So these are some of the methods through which one can learn better. I would like to ask, since the time is very short, I would like to ask a few points or questions so that the listeners can think and come back with some more vidhi or pravidhi methodologies of learning. Here we can observe how a child or a person learns, because since our senses are outwardly, we will not be more efficient in contemplating our own learning techniques. So Paraspara Bhavana can be a beautiful or useful tool here. One can help others in learning the things better. On the other side, one can also come out with different methods of learning. Here, the psychologist, the educationist, the teacher or academicians, people from various walks of life should come together to explore this learning methodologies, because ultimately the mind has to be consulted in its growth. So in spite of so many researches for all these years, still the mind and its capabilities, functionalities, approaches are still an enigma. It is not completely explored. It is different from person to person. So we can explore in collaboration with all people from all walks of life. There is high possibility to explore the learning methodologies. So this is one of the important research areas where much more work is to be done, because we have focused more on teaching for many long years rather than focusing more on learning. So here I would urge the listeners to share your ideas and thoughts of different methods of learning, how I can learn better, how a child or a friend or uh, any person for that matter, in my observation, learns things better. So this is a small request from my side. And in order to experiment all these things, we have three Gurukulas. Maitreya Gurukula for girls, Prabodhini Gurukula at Sringeri, which is for primary education of boys, and Veda Vijnana Gurukula, higher education at Bengaluru. So these three Gurukulas, I am the product of Veda Vijnana Gurukula, so that I could give these three information about Gurukulas. And I would request the listeners to pay visits. Veda Vijnana Gurukulam, if you Google, it is 20 kilometers from Bengaluru. And Prabodhini Gurukulam is in Sringeri, nearby Sringeri. And Maitreya Gurukulam for the girls, which is in Dakshina Kannada. So all these learning methodologies are being experimented in these three Gurukulas for a long time. And one can visit these Gurukulas in order to understand how these experiments are being conducted and what are the outputs. So this is my brief presentation, and before conclusion, I would once again thank all of you for your patient listening, and the coordinators of Vedavyasa Bharati Trust for giving me an opportunity to share the thoughts about learning techniques. So these are not the final words. This is just a humble beginning. One can explore more. So my last request is to coordinate our thoughts. All the good efforts should come together. Otherwise, we will be in small, isolated places without any connectivity. So connectivity, networking, and making efforts to explore these areas are the need of the hour. Even in modern education system, we can bring these learning methodologies into the present modern education system. And in Gurukulas, we have a number of Gurukulas. Apart from these three, we have a number of Gurukulas throughout the country, wherein the modern education, best of modern education system can also be implemented. So once again, I thank all the listeners, and I'm greatly, deeply humbled for this opportunity. Thank you one and all. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suresha ji. Thank you so much for explaining various methods of learning Shastras today. I have learned a lot today, and I take a lot of notes, as you mentioned. Like I do, think about how I can teach or learn Shastras or teach something to my kids. Thank you so much. So you have nicely showed us the difference between the Vedic Gurukulam system and also current schooling system today. Good that you brought up the importance of building the character and spiritual aspects of it. And you have nicely explained pedagogy. So can you go over one more time how that is utilized in current system or in Vedic curriculum system?
Sorry, madam. Could you be elaborative?
You mentioned about the teaching methodology, pedagogy, right?
Huh.
So did you say that like it is used in the Vedic curriculum system, or is it in current schooling system?
Thank you for the important question. Here, in today's scenario, particularly in schooling, we have a fixed syllabus, and the orientation is marks. Gaining good marks, next they must gain a seat in reputed premier institutions. So these are the aims of the parents and the society also making one or the other ways to impose these things into our mind. Here, the in learning, as far as learning system is concerned, the student is given high priority. As far as our Gurukulam is concerned, the acharyas are the facilitators. I use this word is very important. They are not teachers, they are facilitators. They try to understand each and every student, what are his traits, positive qualities, and where he can improve upon. So he will be constantly given feedbacks, inputs to improve on his merits, qualities. So one may be interested in kavyas or literature. The other person may be interested in science. Someone may be interested into research. So identification of one's own quality is a very big challenge, even for today's modern education system. So in olden days, people used to give a lot of importance to understand the child. What is the special quality of the child? But in today's scenario, we give more importance to where he can fit into the system. So that is the basic difference. And when the child is given importance, either by choice or by his interest, he will definitely be more contributive to the society. And we can see I would like to bring one small information to your kind attention. Today, software engineers are paid more, and people are trying to be software engineer for one or the other reasons. But on the other side, when I spoke to some of my friends who are into that particular field, they want to quit the profession because of unbearable pressure. So they want to explore, they want to take up something new in their life, so that they quit their job. They are trying to quit their job at the 40s. So this is the scenario we find in many corporate, particularly in software sector. Learning is a joyous experience, automatic. That is, one must be very joyful in learning. So this happens when a true quality of a person is realized. But it needs a lot of coordinated effort from various factors. That's what I feel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for explaining. I recently heard here in America, like some of the schools, they try to, introduce subjects like by understanding the kids. So that's when you explained that, it caught my attention that it's good that like some of the schools, they are bringing that here to understand the student, to cater the subject to the student's level. I have another question here. So you explained like Shastra, Adhigama Vidhis, methods of learning Shastra. They're very well explained and very detailedly provide. Can you go a little more deeper on Pramanas, epistemology? And do they fall into the same categories as like Shastra, Adhigama, Vidhis, that 18 you mentioned there, or how do we compare those, or how do we know the pace of learning?
Fine. Shastra Dhigama Vidhi is about or the epistemology. Epistemology, if you give importance to pramanas, say for example, pratyaksha. Pratyaksha is panchendriya gnana. Through senses, we get information. When the mind is associated with a particular sense, we will receive the information. That is pratyaksha. And anumana. So, for the pratyaksham, here is a small definition from Gautama Nyaya Sutra. Indriyartha sannikarasha utpannam jnanam avyapadeshyam avyabhichari vyavasayatmakam pratyaksham. There is a detailed description about these sentences or sutras. In brief, pratyaksha is sensory knowledge. And anumana. Anumanam is here we infer some things. Say for example, if the cloud is dark, we infer that today it may rain. So it is inference. Even in inference, Purvavata, Sheshavata, and Samanyato Drishtam. So there are three categories. When Karanam is on seeing the Karanam, if we presume or infer the Karya, this is a particular method. For example, Karanam is the cloud and Karyam is rain. So on seeing the cloud, Karanam, we infer the Karya. And the other way around is on seeing the Karyam, we can infer the Karanam. If the rainwater is, or if the tap water, even in Karnataka, with reference to Karnataka, if our tap water is muddy or slightly reddish in color, we can assume that it might have rained in the previous places or in the hilly regions nearby. So Karyam is hilly region, rain, and that is the Karanam, and with that reason we have the rainwater being reddish in color. So Karanam, Karyam, these are the important points. Pratigna, Hetu, Udaharana, Upanaya, Nigamanani, Avayavaha, Anumiti Karanam, Anumanam. Here, the next one is Upamanam. Upamanam is similarity. Go Sadrishaha Gavaya. Go Sadrishaha is that which is similar to cow is Gavayaha. So by finding the similarities and differences, we gain a few information. Say for example, if person A has given an information, that information matches with the person B, we find some similarities and we come to a conclusion that since these two persons have got similar information and they are sharing with me, that may be true. So finding some similarities and differences, we draw some conclusions. So that is Upamana Vidhi. And Shabda Vidhi and Arthapatti Vidhi and Anupalabdhi Vidhi, these three are very subtle. And Shabda is believing in the content of somebody's words. Say, for example, news. Somebody reads the news. On listening to the news, we believe that something has happened at a particular place. Though we have not seen it directly, trusting the news, we have got the information. So this is Shabda, Arthapatti and Anupalabdhi. So these 6 pramanas are being accepted by Vedanta school of philosophy, and in different schools, Nayayikas, Purumimansakas, Sankhya, Yoga, they have their own acceptances. But Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, these four are being accepted by one and all.
So you mentioned about three Gurukulas at the end of your presentation, right? So do they follow any of these methodology in specific?
As far as the Vedavyas Gurukula is concerned, wherein I have studied for about 6 years, and I had a opportunity to serve the Gurukula for 3 years as a facilitator or acharya. The fundamental premises is ayogyaha purushaha nasti. Every child is born with a gift. Just because he or she is not able to understand a particular information or a fact or some bookish knowledge, we need not to brand or confine their identity as they are good for nothing. So if a person is not being able to perform in a particular field, the entire focus will be on identifying his talent. There are three important key points. First one is talent identification, which is very, very difficult, and it needs a collaborated effort, coordinated effort. And second part, train the talent. If the talent is identified, then the training is to be imparted so that the talent blooms to the perfection. And the third is very important. Perfected talent should be given proper direction. So if these three objectives of education, particularly the Gurukula education, are being taken care, whether it is a Gurukula or the modern education system, the education has said to be complete or served its best to the individual. So how the talent is can be identified, that is a very big $1 million question. Generally, we have some methods to identify one's talent. For example, if a person enjoys playing, enjoys reading, enjoys doing something, then we can presume that he has the bent of mind towards that field of interest. So this is one broad way of understanding one's other's talent. And the difficult part is knowing self-realization is very difficult part. Where I am good at, I will not be able to understand. So the others information, others input about me, or the feedback, all these things will be very helpful in knowing oneself. But in order to identify the talent, we have to make some more efforts. Some people may not come to the or may not flower very easily at the earlier ages, but they may be good at the same field in the later part of their life. So it is highly personal, highly complicated, and there is no one rule which applies to everyone. Here in Gurukulam, we make efforts to engage a student in various activities. So, and feedback is taken, received continuously about a student. And since it is a residential system of Gurukulam is a residential system. We will try to understand each and every student from various perspectives, how he um, moves on with different issues, how he tackles the issues, problem solving capacities, problem facing capacity, very important, and critical thinking. So the residential system, Gurukula system of education has its own positive benefits when it comes to talent identification.
Very well explained. As you said, like every child has a gift of something, and identifying that is very important to focus and learn more on that aspect. I have one other small question. Um, how parents today can instill this Vedic Gurukulam style methodology in teaching Vyavaharika or the um, regular learning. Today, the kids may not be sent to, all kids may not get an opportunity to go to Vedic Gurukulam style, right? So parents can instill that methodology at home. So any tips for the parents today to instill this methodology?
Fine, you have hit the nail on its head. The point is, as I briefed in the earlier slides, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. These are 5 facets of person. So this, in with reference to this, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, these 4 objectives that can also be taken into consideration. And very important point is Adhishila Shikshana. If the child is of within 6 to 8 years, in some cases, the within 6 years they perform or they'll learn from Adhishila, and at from 6 to 12 Adhi Chitta, wherein they have a lot of power of retention. At that time, we have to give them opportunity to learn different sources. Say, for example, literatures, some Vedic mantras. Vedic mantras are said to be very powerful because they can explore, or they can energize the nuances of the brain. So many researches are being conducted in that line, how the Vedic mantras are more effective in order to energize different parts of our brain, particularly students of 6 to 12 years, where the retention power is at the peak. And we have to cater the needs of the child. So the pronunciation, what they are interested, and sometimes we have to make them to be in association with different people, socialization of our service. So these are the methods through which the child explores oneself, and slowly it finds its own way to be the best performer and transformer in personal and social life. Depending on the age, the teachers or the parents can take a call. Sometimes our children may not be given proper direction by ourselves, but we'll be the good guide for the child of the next door. So we can interchange or take the help of the other people, other parents, teachers, And with the coordinated effort, as I said earlier, there needs to be a coordinated effort to explore the child. There is one more method called problem solving method. Instead of giving a solution to the problem, throw the problem to the child, and the child comes out with different kinds of solutions. So here the age factor is very important, and the association, the circumstance, and the people who are very close to the child, they play a great role in molding the character. And of course, the teachers and parents are expected to lead life as the role model for the child. This is very important. Unfortunately, the parents of today's generation, I'm not blaming anybody. Generally, the parents feel that our responsibilities are concluded, are done when the child is sent to the school. But this is not the way to think about. As we live our life, the children observe and they grow accordingly. So the parents are expected to lead a life of a role model, so that there can be a positive inspiration, motivation, and a lot of enthusiasm which the child draws from the parents. For example, if the child is expected to wake up early in the morning, the parents being being the parents, they need to awake early, and slowly the culture of the family will be shaped up in such a way that early morning waking up early in the morning is a natural habit. So sometimes the parents are expected to be an ideal role model for the child.
Thank you. Very well said. Yeah. Thanks for reminding us that what we preach, we should practice, and then kids can learn from it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. R. Suresha ji, for your time and the wonderful talk today. We everybody from IIVS appreciate you for coming and giving us the lecture today. Thank you all for tuning in to Rishivatika YouTube channel today. This concludes the session today. Namaste and have a pleasant day.
Namaste. I expect feedback and inputs. That is the reason I have displayed my email ID and the phone number. I look forward for your valuable inputs and feedbacks. Thank you for the opportunity. Namaste.